Let's bring in Ryan Peterson, CEO of Flexport, and Bayard Winthrop, CEO of American Giant, to get their takes on the state of our supply chain. Ryan, what is the state of the supply chain? What has been revealed from all that we've been through in this pandemic, and now we're going through with these hacks?
I think the word is probably brittle, is that we just don't have a supply chain that's ready for the kind of scale that we've thrown at it this year, where imports into the United States, containerized imports, are up 20% year over year. And it turns out almost every single leg of that shipment, from wherever it's made to final delivery, we have capacity crunches. We don't have enough drivers, not enough containers, not enough port capacity, not enough boats. It's a real problem, and you can't just dial these things up. There's a lot of old technology in the stack that makes it really hard to grow at that pace. And
Bayard, you found a unique way at this problem at American Giant. People might know you for your hoodies and your T-shirts, lots of clothing as well as other items, bags. It's all made in America from American materials. So that is a different spin, right, on the supply chain.
Yeah, it is, John. I mean, in our instance, it was the motivation is quality and proximity. We're able to shorten our reaction times and drive quality much more effectively when we're local and close. But you're right, it tends to be the exception now, unfortunately. And we've got supply chains now that are highly complicated, highly globalized, which have benefits in terms of cheap production. But I think that the discussion is the right one, which is it's created a very fragile, very unstable supply chain when anything disrupts it. It doesn't even need to be so dramatic as a pandemic, but if there are disruptions in the supply chain, the whole thing tends to really get wobbly. And so I think there are opportunities to think about developing alternative ones, domestic ones that mitigate against that.
Ryan, the idea of globalization has taken all kinds of hits over the last decade. This is, in a way, just the latest. But is there a balance? Is there a way to incentivize the right kinds of domestic pieces in the supply chain while also, having global trade? It's worked out pretty well for America thus far.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we don't want to forget is we've got centuries of prosperity that have been built off of a free market and being able to find the right vendor, find the right customer anywhere in the world. And, even American companies are going to want to export and take their products internationally. So any successful business is going to want to go global and want to bring that to people all over the world that want it. And there are mechanisms in there. There's price mechanism. Right now, the price of a container to ship a container from China to the U.S. is like $10,000 is the entry price if you can even get one. And so that's going to incentivize people and companies like American Giant to, hey, you're going to do great if you don't have to deal with that problem, and you'll see more people react to that price mechanism that's out there.
So, Bayard, what about it? I guess one thing that you don't get a benefit from being domestic is protection from hackers, right? Because they can very easily reach across the internet and hit American Giant as well. Is that part of this conversation, and have you figured out a way to manage some domestic side protection for that?
I'm not sure. No, I think that's certainly on everybody's mind.
Ryan, hold on. That one's for Bayard.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, Ryan may be better positioned to answer that one than me. I don't think there's anything particularly that is protective about staying domestic there. I think there is an inherent reaction capability and flexibility when you're domestic that allows you to route around where there are problems in the supply chain. That could include hacking too, presumably. But we do have, I think, an ability domestically to be much more responsive and reactive, as we've seen during this pandemic, to be able to not get caught up in some of the really bad cross-border stuff that has gummed things up the last year.